Welcome to Walking with Spirit with Dr. Ruth Anderson on the International Angels Network. Today is Thursday, September 6, 2018. I'm your host, Ruth Anderson, and I'm coming to you from Colorado. This show has been pre-recorded, so we won't be able to take any calls from listeners. Here at International Angels Network, we explore spirituality, angels, spirit guides, our loved ones on the other side, and much more. Our radio podcasts are available to you on Pocket Cast, Pinterest, Player FM, Podchaser, and now Overcast Radio. Listen to us on Alexa and Echo Amazon devices or download the TuneIn app. These are all easy sites to use and make it very easy to listen to our archive shows. Tonight, I am so excited to bring week one of the Reiki mini session with our guest, my friend and fellow lightworker, Hilary Dunford. This episode of International Angels Network is sponsored by Holistic Light Rejuvenation Center. For more information, visit holisticrejuvenate.com. Sunday Sturgeon is the founder and CEO of Holistic Light Rejuvenation Center and is a host on our network. We are pleased to announce that International Angels Network is now also sponsored by Audible by Amazon. If you go to www.audibletrial.com/International Angels Network, you can get a free audiobook. So please check that out today. I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen in. This show is called Walking with Spirit. Walking with Spirit means consciously living in the physical realm with frequent connection to the divinity in the spirit realm and being open to all that they want me to experience. Every day I check in with my guides, Divine Mother and God, sometimes seeking guidance, sometimes seeking connection, and sometimes seeking their healing abilities. Many days I receive lessons by hearing, seeing, or feeling signs coming in from the energetic realm. I never know what my day is going to look like or what the next learning might be. Each week I share a story about an experience I had while walking with Spirit. About a month ago, I woke up feeling anxious, as if a cosmic to-do list was hanging around my neck. I started my morning meditation with hopes it would calm my nervous system. As soon as I closed my eyes, I felt a large, ominous, low-level energy approaching me. I wasn't comfortable with its proximity, so I told it to stand back. I saw that it acquiesced and stood behind my lineup of archangels. I asked, "Archangel Michael, is this energy okay to be here?" I heard yes. "Is it an archangel?" No. "Is it an angel?" Yes. I thought of the lower level energies it came with. Is this angel like a trash collector? Yes. I turned and spoke directly to it. Do you remove lower level energies and foreign energies? I felt my body shudder as my chakras were cleared of foreign energy that was making me feel anxious. As my lower level energies were cleared, the angel's appearance brightened and became higher vibrational frequencies. I thought of Reiki and how I had used it to clear lower level energies with clients. I saw a vision of my friend Jeannie getting the energy from her ear cleared during a Reiki healing session. I heard Reiki. Archangel Michael, does this angel have to do with Reiki energy? Yes. I said to the angel, are you Reiki energy? Yes. Wow, I did not see that coming. Are you called Reiki? Yes. I have called on you so many times. It is a pleasure to meet you. So the word Reiki is comprised of two Japanese words, Rei, which means God's wisdom or the higher power, and Ki, which is life force energy. Reiki means spiritually guided life force energy. Is it okay for me to tell people that you are an angel? Yes. Is that why I heard that I should talk about Reiki energy on the radio show when I was introducing the archangels? Yes. I was never very comfortable saying that I was working with an ancient healing energy. It sounded too nebulous and inauthentic. It felt much more real and plausible that Reiki energy was coming from God through the form of an angel and then to Reiki practitioners. When my friend's daughter Marie was in urgent care and I called you in, an angel showed up. Was this because you travel with healing angels? Yes. Do healing angels always come in with you? No. Have you shown yourself as the Reiki angel to other people? Yes. When Mikao Usui discovered and founded the Reiki system by having his foot healed with healing energy, was that you? Yes. I have experienced Reiki energy as subservient to the healing energies. I'm sorry about that. I've experienced Reiki energy as subservient to the healing energies of the archangels and Divine Mother. Am I sensing that correctly? Yes. Is that because you are an angel and they are archangels and the spiritual divinity? Yes. So Reiki is indeed an ancient healing energy. It is as ancient as the angel who embodies this divine healing energy. I was then shown a dark, low-level energy, and I tried to determine what it was showing me. Do people try to misuse Reiki energy? Yes. Is Reiki energy ever used in ways that are low-level vibrational energy like voodoo or witchcraft? No. Are the people who use it sometimes not very high vibrationally? Yes. Is that a problem? No. Is that because you have control over who uses Reiki energy? Yes. If someone is trying to use Reiki energy to do something negative, can you stop them? Yes and no. I remember one of the main tenets of Reiki was that it can do no harm. Can Reiki ever do harm? No. If you can't stop them, will the Reiki energy just not work through them? Yes. So if anyone who has been attuned calls on Reiki, do you have to respond? Yes. If someone has had the Reiki attunement, which is somewhat like an initiation ceremony, does the Reiki energy automatically go through them? Yes. But because the energy can't do harm, it just won't work if they try to use it inappropriately? Yes. Is there anything else that you want me to know? I love you. I love you too. So thank you for listening. I'm an author and a spiritual counselor, providing individualized transformational experiences for my clients using Holy Fire Reiki, energy work, and connection with the spiritual divinity, including the Divine Mother, Archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. If my work with the spiritual divinity sounds like something you would like to explore, please feel free to reach out to me at openclinic1@gmail.com, and we could discuss a private long-distance session. Make sure to mention that you are a listener of International Angels Network to receive a discount. I just launched a new book that came out on Amazon August 7th. Walking with Spirit, Divine Illuminations on Life, Death, and Beyond shares so many lessons that I've learned this past year and a half, including what happens when we die, how you can connect to the spiritual divinity, and what the spirit realm can teach us about the physical realm we live in. It is available in Kindle now and will be coming out in paperback soon, so please be looking for that on Amazon. So let's get started with our featured guest tonight, Spotlight on Lightworker Hilary Dunford. The topic of her show is Introduction to Reiki. So I'd like to tell you about Hilary, our guest tonight. My dear friend, colleague, and soul sister, Hilary is a loving wife and mother to a special young man. Hilary is a master in Holy Fire Reiki and a gifted intuitive. Her hobbies include gardening, making jewelry that incorporates energy and chakras. Welcome, Hilary Dunford. So Hilary, can you tell us about the jewelry that you make?
Yes, the jewelry that I make really was incorporated when I was doing Reiki sessions because I'm so connected to the crystal. And I often lay crystals on my clients before I start the Reiki session to make sure that their body is clear and open to receive.
Okay, and are you making that now? Is it so it's crystals? Is it like necklaces or bracelets or what is it?
Well, I make bracelets, I make earrings, and I make bracelets. And what's most important is I get a feel of what the client is needing at the time and what stones would enhance the Reiki session. And before I started making jewelry, I would actually give the stones to my clients. Then I had clients ask me, is there any way that you can make this into a jewelry piece so that I may wear it instead of forget my bag of rocks? So I will always have it with me.
Well, that's a great idea. So do you actually infuse any healing, anything special into those stones, or is it just really what is inherent in the stone?
If someone comes in for a healing, I'll take the stones that I incorporated and make a piece of jewelry for them with that. So they carry the healing energy that was in their session always.
Excellent.
If I'm making jewelry to sell and they haven't received a healing, I infuse it with Reiki so that wherever they may go, they will feel the energy of the piece of jewelry that they discover, and it discovers them.
So you're infusing the stones with Reiki, which is a beautiful, beautiful idea. That's so cool. Okay. So Hilary, you and I were in classes together. We took classes together for several years. How do you receive information? Do you see it or feel it or sense it?
That's a really good question, Ruth. In the beginning, just even as a little girl, I always took on people's feelings, which is clairsentient. And as I was awakening to my gifts from the divine, I found that I had a knowing, and it would just happen. I wouldn't see it as clairaudient or clairvoyant. I was more clairaudient. And it was really interesting to me because I would hear very, very special messages, and that I could give that to my clients.
So were the messages from like people that they knew that had passed over, or were the messages from your spirit guides or their spirit guides? Or?
It would be a culmination of both, depending on who decided to show up for the healing. So if a loved one on the other side showed up, I was able to give that message to them. If it was a healing message from their healing angels, I was able to give them the message so that they can be enlightened and work through what they needed to work through.
Okay, so when I receive information, I get it in a variety of ways, similar to you, and it's so hard to describe because a lot of times I'll see it, but I don't get really sharp details. So if I'm seeing an archangel, I'm not getting really chiseled features. You know, I get a general shape, and I just know. I've got the knowingness that that's who it is. But for me to actually be able to describe what they look like is really tough for me to do. So let's talk about Reiki for a minute. how did you first learn about Reiki, and what drew you to wanting to learn more about it?
What drew me to Reiki is I went to a spiritual with, and I learned all the different facets of Reiki. And at that point, that's where I was attuned. And as I was getting attuned, I could see all of the symbols going through my mind. And it was the most beautiful experience I've ever had. We were in the Black Hills of South Dakota.
Wow.
On a crystal bed and being infused with all the Reiki symbols.
All at once?
All at once.
Wow.
It was amazing. And then through giving Reiki, I understood that I was a conduit. It wasn't actually me.
Right.
I was the conduit, and that made it feel very special.
So, nowadays, and I don't know when about was that you had that experience?
6 years ago.
6 years ago, okay. Because at least around here, you do Reiki 1, and then Reiki 2, and then Reiki 3, and somewhere in there, I guess Reiki 2, you start getting some of the symbols. And then Reiki 3, you get additional symbols. So you got it all just in one fell swoop.
I did, and it was really special. Jason, who did the attunement, he worked very closely with the master. And
Yusui?
Yes.
Wow.
And, descendants.
Okay.
And he felt that there should be more people awakened with it, and he didn't feel that you should have a cost on it.
Okay.
That you should be able to be given it because it's energy, and all energy is in energy field. And so he offered this at our spiritual wisdom retreat, and it was beautiful. And so I feel very fortunate. And that's why I know we'll talk about this a little bit later about giving Reiki for exchange of energy money or just as energy. And I feel because it was given to me as a gift, and it is so powerful. And each time you give a healing, of course, you're getting a healing.
Right.
And I feel that that's a gift that I want to just give because it was given to me.
That's beautiful. So about how many people were there at that time receiving the attunement?
24.
Okay. All right. And I really just wonder across the globe how many people have been attuned to do Reiki. Because I know just on Facebook, I belong to like 5 different sites that are lightworkers. And between those 5 different sites, there's 500,000 members. So I just wonder across the globe how many people are actually able to provide healing like that. That's awesome. So with me, I had heard about Reiki for a long time, but it just seemed so exotic. And it just seemed so out of reach that I just didn't think that was ever a possibility for me. And then when I got more comfortable with my own intuitive skills, I had read about different online Reiki options. And I did a Reiki 1 with Nancy Windhart. And Nancy also does animal communication and Reiki for animals. So I did my first one online. And part of me thought, I don't know if this is going to work because it's online. We were listening on the phone and doing it online. And I have to tell you, as I was sitting there in meditation and getting the Reiki attunement, all of a sudden I felt 3 very large beings behind me. And I wasn't really used to having large beings behind me, so I felt into them. And one of them was an angel, which now I'm putting together, must have been this Reiki angel. One was Divine Mother, and one was Jesus Christ. And I was so struck at that point that Jesus thinks this is okay. And so does Divine Mother. I mean, if they're here blessing the attunement, they're in alignment with it. So to me, that was absolutely freeing and absolutely amazing.
You know, I have something to add to that, because as we come into this world, we have these qualities and gifts. It's about awakening to them. And Mother God and Father God want everyone to be awakened. We just can't remember that we have it. And sometimes in our contracts, when we come down, it might be written that we're not going to have this spiritual awakening
In this time.
Exactly. But if we are, it allows the heavens to open. And it's not that anyone is special that has it, because everyone has it. It's a matter of if you want to awaken it. And then what is it that you want to do once you awaken it?
Mm-hmm. Right. So what do you think about that concept that I shared about Reiki coming down through angelic form? Does that feel good to you, or does that feel weird to you?
No, it feels good. And it's of higher source. And also you bring in ancestors of the person that you are actually giving Reiki to. And so through generations of different, I guess, programming and so forth, you have all of this help and guidance. And that's why before I start my Reiki on a client, I want to make sure that their vessel is clear and clean so that they can receive the new energy. And anything that isn't for their highest and greatest good will leave so that they have more room to receive what is for their highest and greatest
That makes sense. I go along with that. So you are a talented intuitive and a talented energetic healer. So how do you, well, first of all, which did you learn first? Did you learn to use your intuition first, or did you get the Reiki part first?
I learned to awaken my intuition. And as a little girl, I always knew and was drawn to it. I didn't understand it. But what I did, as I mentioned before, I would always feel other people's feelings and hurts. And I could walk into a room and someone would be smiling and thinking this was the best thing. Inside, that wasn't the truth. And so it was really difficult for me as a teenager growing up, because it was two different sides and I didn't understand it, because I'm watching this person have a lot of fun, but at the same time, I'm seeing a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what that was. And of course, I never shared it with anyone. And then as I grew older and became more awakened, then that's when I started actually going in, honing in on the skills that I have. And that's where I was able to meet you.
Yes, yes. So how do you, and I do too, but how do you incorporate using the intuition with Reiki in a session? What does that look like for you?
Well, what it looks like for me, and different people have different modalities. And for me, when I am doing a healing, I like to keep it a healing and not a reading. So, of course, I get messages, but what I do is I finish the Reiki, and then afterwards I could sit down with my client and say the message that I received.
So when I'm doing Reiki, actually, I really never just set out to only do Reiki. I set out to sort of kind of like all in one-stop shopping, I guess, because when I work with a client, I welcome in the divinity before the client ever shows up and set the stage for them to be there. And I just have Reiki at the ready if needed. The archangels and Divine Mother are there if there's something needed. And also just looking at the possibility of like chakra clearing or, just that kind of energy work. So I really just take it as it comes. And one interesting time, I was working on my girlfriend, Jeannie, who I had referenced earlier in this call. And she woke up one morning and the hearing was completely gone out of her left ear, just gone. And the problem, not only that she couldn't hear, was that it gave her intense vertigo and nausea. And she couldn't function. And Jeannie, my dear friend, is a workaholic. And so for her to have to call in and miss work because she's so nauseous she can't stand up was a significant problem. So I did Reiki on her right away. And 2 weeks later, she was a little better, but still significantly challenged. So I was talking to my spirit guides and I said, okay, well, here's the deal. You all want me to tell other people that physical healing can take place. Here's my friend, she needs you. So I need you to come to the table. This isn't okay. So called Jeannie and she laid down at her house. So it was a long distance session. And she laid down at her home. And then I was in my office and doing Reiki on her. And I could see that there was this buildup of black energy behind her left ear. And it literally wasn't budging. I mean, I could see it. There was a little relief there, but it wasn't budging. Well, then enter the divine. And Divine Mother, Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel are there, and they put themselves in different sectors of the room. And then 4 healing angels showed up. And it was one woman, and which now I'm wondering if it was Reiki, but she had said her name sounded something like RC, and I don't know if that was her, and 3 male angels. And so if Jeannie was laying down, then there were like 2 males on one side of her, the female, and one on the other. And I'm watching this in spirit. I'm watching it all happen. Reiki actually kind of like steps back. It was like the archangels were almost holding space for it. And I'm watching this healing. Well, they're not saying anything. These 4 healing angels aren't saying anything. And they're not looking like they're touching her. But it's like all telepathic. It was wild. And then I'm watching this black energy that's behind her left ear. It gained so much momentum, and it was just like pushed, flung out of her ear. And I thought, I wonder if that hurt. I mean, literally, I'm thinking, what is Jeannie going through right now? And then after a few minutes, the 4 archangels each, like, they put their hands across Jeannie's abdomen, like over where her abdomen would be. And the 4 of them took hands with like a crisscross thing. And it was like and so it is, right? It was like, and we're done. And then they were gone. And then I called her and I asked her if she had noticed anything, because I didn't want to assume just because I had seen this miraculous thing happen here didn't mean she experienced it in the physical. And she said that she had felt this immense push of energy out her left ear. So she had noticed that in body. And it wiped out the vertigo and the nausea.
Right.
She still has no hearing in her left ear. And I asked the archangels. So like the next morning, I had another Reiki session planned with Jeannie. We had 2 set up. I don't know, in my mind, I'm thinking one might not work. I don't know what I was thinking. And they said, no. They said, they're not coming back. They were here. They did it. no. And I went, okay, fine. Okay, I get it. But then I said, well, but wait a minute, she still can't hear. And they said, because that's not her path.
Wow.
They said, when you're talking with people, don't promise them a healing, because it may not happen. It may not be their path. And if it does happen, then that's an awesome thing. So that was a very big lesson for me, that as an intuitive that, is involved with the healings on folks, just because you want it and just because they want it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It may not be their path. It's a huge lesson for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings me to when I sit down with the client, I could let them know all my modalities and ask them what they would like. And I usually only take one client a day because I never know where it's going to go. I might do sound healing. I might do spiritual healing. I might do hands-on healing. I may do Reiki. I may do aura chakra cleanse, do deprogramming. And we really sit down and I really get to know, where they are. And I'll do a healing on them before that so I can get a gauge of where their spirit is.
So you mentioned deprogramming. So can you talk about that for just a minute? I know that's not a Reiki term. What does that term refer to?
So deprogramming is when, of course, you come back, you reincarnate time after time. And sometimes there's things that happen in a past life that carry forward. And sometimes you have an element because of that past cell memory. So if you could go in and see where that cell is, take the cell out, flush that out, flush out the programming, whatever that may be in that cell that's creating the discomfort in your client, then you infuse that back with gold and put the cell back and infuse it into the body.
So like cellular memory from a past life?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for an example, one of my daughters is scared to death of the ocean. Scared to death. And so I went in and I looked for a past life because I thought maybe there's something there. And it was interesting because what I saw was in this past life, she was wearing this long flowy dress. So I'm guessing, I don't know what year that might have been, back in the Gone with the Wind days or something where they're, flowing. And she's swimming in the ocean. She's floating. She's actually relaxing on her back, just sucking up the sun and the whole experience. And animals loved her. And this dolphin came up and was like nosing around her, and she loved that because she, in this lifetime too, adores animals. Well, the problem was that the dolphin snagged part of the dress in its mouth, and it was like caught on the teeth. And so as the dolphin panicked, because it's got this flowy fabric caught in it, it tried to swim off. And as a result, my daughter drowned. And so it made perfect sense to me that she's so fearful of the water now, having drowned in the ocean already. So is that the kind of thing that you can work with folks on then?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It is so interesting to me that we think that we are just our own person with our own thoughts without the possibility of cellular memories coming down through our DNA, our spiritual or soul DNA. So yeah, I just think that's an interesting thought. Okay, so Hilary, what are some things you would want people to know about energy?
That's a good question, Ruth. I feel that energy work really happens when you're in a healing, and at the same time, the person that you're giving the healing to only shows you what they want you to see. And healings are moment by moment. So you could clear someone, but if they so choose to not want to have that, those things can enter back into their life. But what's so beautiful is that you could give them next steps, and you could let them know what you're seeing at the time, which is really powerful. And what's also interesting is it's not news to them, because they know it's more validating, and they realize that they're on the right track, and their intuition is awakened.
Interesting. Okay. So if I were wanting to share something about energy with folks that maybe hadn't ever done it before, I would want them to know that just because I'm intuitive doesn't mean that I know everything about you.
Right.
Right? Because when I've told folks that I'm intuitive, then they like cover themselves up with like their hand, like, oh, don't know this about me. It's like, well, okay, I wasn't actually reading you, but just because I've got that skill doesn't mean I'm going around reading everybody all the time.
Exactly. And plus, energy workers really set their space before they go in, and they can really see what you show them.
Right. Well, and you said too, something else that I would want folks to know. Everybody is born with the ability to know energy. I mean, how many times do you hear the stories about the baby in the crib, right? Or the toddler in the crib that's talking to somebody animatedly or giggling at somebody, and nobody else can tell who they're giggling at.
Exactly. And really, if you think about it, you are really heightened with these gifts all the way up until about 3. And if your parents or whoever you're living with grant and embrace and ask you about these feelings and gigglings, then you could actually keep those gifts and you don't store them away. But if you are told, oh, you didn't see that, you didn't hear that, unfortunately, you put those away until later on when you awaken into your spiritual gifts.
Right. So somebody among our listeners, someone among our listeners who is just developing their intuitive skills, would you say that it is really important that they find other people who are comfortable with you using your intuitive skills and find your own community? Because if you just go tell your husband and he doesn't believe in it, or you try to tell your sister and she poo-poos it, then I can see folks shutting off those skills because they don't have a community to support it.
Exactly. I would recommend that you do get into a community, because what's really important is you learn how to protect yourself and how to ground yourself so that you no longer are taking on other people's energy, but you are able to.
Right. So, Hilary, have you done long distance Reiki?
Yes, and I have to tell you, I love long distance.
So can you explain what long distance is for folks that may not know?
So long distance is when you ask the client that is wanting a healing, be open. And you give a time. Sometimes it's a set time. Sometimes for me, especially with friends and family, I tell them right before I'm going to bed, whoever needs a healing, just let me know and what it is that they want a healing on. And I ask them to be open. And then I actually get to go in and really really work on them without being disturbed and being grounded. And
so you're not in the room with them?
No.
Okay, so you could be across town?
In another state.
In another state? You could be across the world?
Yes.
Okay.
Because energy, there is no time and space. But what you do is you call in their energy because you have their permission. You never want to give someone a healing unless you have their permission. You get their full name, and then it's spirit to spirit.
Okay, so, all right, so I've got a couple thoughts here. I'm just writing a note to make sure we talk about it. So long distance, so for me, where long distance comes in is if I am going to be working with somebody, let's say somebody's going in for surgery. A friend of mine went in for oral surgery, and she was really very nervous. And I was across town, and I held space for her, did Reiki for her and on her while she was getting ready to go for the day, and helped calm her down in her own home, cleared the energy in her home, sent Reiki to her home, sent Reiki to her in her car as she was driving, just to keep her calm while she was getting there, sent Reiki to the doctor's office, grounded the doctor's office, prayed for smart thinking, very careful doctor to be doing the procedure, did send Reiki for the recovery, for the ride home, and for her home when she returned.
Exactly. That's exactly what you would.
Yeah.
You know, when someone's in an acute situation like that and they know it's situational, then you could actually set their space for that time, and then you keep the space to make sure everything is going okay.
Right, and you can even do it ahead of time. So what is so amazing about Reiki, and this comes in, I think, the second class of Reiki typically, is where you get the distance healing symbol, is that you can even set it for a future time. So you don't have to be sitting there doing it right then at that time. It's a crazy, amazing thing. So you had also mentioned having the permission of the person doing it. Now, my understanding is if a child is under 12, then like the parent's permission.
Exactly.
Right? Right. So in other words, you can't just go say, you could actually send Reiki to someone, and if their being wasn't open to receiving it, then it just wouldn't have an impact.
Exactly.
Right. So in like a national disaster or a natural, I'm going to go with natural and not national disaster, then you could send Reiki healing to a mass of people.
Yes.
And then only those souls that are open to receiving it would receive it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. A lot of people that I encounter as clients, they want me to give someone that they're having a conflict with a healing. And I do have to explain that I can't just do that. I could give them a healing and I can clear that person out of their space, but I can't go ahead and give that person healing because I don't have the permission to do that, and it's free will.
Right.
And so I guess I'm talking about healing, not Reiki at that point.
Mm-hmm. So, we don't normally talk about the ethics of healing when we talk about doing light work, but light workers do have a code of ethics.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know, like, not doing harm toward anybody or not doing it against somebody's will or that kind of thing. So,
right. And the person that you're giving the healing to, you want to have their permission because you actually call in their higher self, their spirit, so that you can work with them, especially long distance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So my friend's daughter was in a skiing accident, and my friend texted me and said, please send Reiki. Marie ended up in the emergency room and with a concussion. And so I called in Reiki, and I saw these small in stature, like maybe about to my waist, angels go in. And it was really cute because the mom loves angels. She doesn't have the ability to see them, but she loves angels. So I could explain to her that I was seeing these angels with Marie, and they put their hands on her head and on her neck and on her shoulders, and I literally could see her shoulders turning red, like hot red. And so I asked my friend, I said, how are her shoulders? And right at that point, she was saying, wow, they really hurt. Like right now, they really, really hurt. And then in about 10 seconds, all the pain was gone from it. But it was so cool to actually be able to watch that. So I think that was a combination of Reiki and angels working together. Yeah, so that was neat.
And when you call on the universe, so magical that really you're calling in the masses to come and help. There's never just one angel. There's several that want to help.
Right. So that brings another point of group Reiki. Have you ever done Reiki in a group on someone?
Yes, and it's very magical to experience that because everyone is a conduit, and the source coming in is so powerful, and everyone has a different experience. And the person actually getting the healing, it's very profound.
Very profound. So more strength in numbers.
Yes and no. It could be as powerful with one, or it could be powerful in a group. You're just getting different angles.
Okay, so like if everybody's getting a different angle, then you can be more thorough, I guess.
Yes and no, because I believe that if you're solo, you are getting the same. It may take longer to do the healing, but you're still getting the high vibrational healing that you would with a group. It's just the matter of the time that it takes.
Okay, I like that. That makes sense. Do you do biosyn scanning? Have you heard of that term?
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that in the Reiki 3 that I had taken. Well, and you and I both have Holy Fire Reiki. Right. So, but in the regular Usui Reiki, I had learned biosyn scanning. And what that is, and I love it, is first I put my hands in the Gasho position, sort of like praying, but it's over with my forehead, and it's inviting Reiki in. And then I imagine the person's body in front of me, and then I can run my hands over the body quickly just to see where is there like extra energy.
Okay, yes, I do that. I don't call it that.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's right. Yeah, so I can feel, like sometimes it feels like dead over a spot, or sometimes it feels hot over a spot, or sometimes it like moves my hands off of it because there's so much energy coming out. So I learned that was called biosyn scanning. But that's a great way to get just the feel of where do I need to come back in and actually spend time. Yeah, and that works great long distance.
Yeah, I think so too. I really, when I do a long distance healing, everyone that I work with gets a healing in Reiki. It's whatever they need. But when I first bring in their spirit, I open up all the chakras. And I see which chakras are working, which aren't, which are on low vibration, which are on high. And then I make sure that they're all open and they're clear. And so then it can really pinpoint where you need to go by scanning the body.
Mm-hmm. So I know one of the ways that some folks have been trained is that you just like start at the head and you do certain positions, like start at the head and then work your way down the body, just holding your hands in different positions as you work all the way down, which to me that just wouldn't work for me, because I'm seeing and feeling where the energy is like trapped or needs to be released or whatever. So how does which way do you do it?
Well, I do it more like you, because I think that, that's more of a structured way. And I think that that's when you're learning and getting the feel. But then as you're holding in the place that you need, and your hands are tingling, I get a really, really tingling sensation. Then I'll say, and I'll rub more, not on their body, but and taking out any black, anything that needs to be removed. But what's really important is that as you do it more and more, your hands are led to where they need to be placed and for how long they need to be placed. And it really almost becomes not of you. You're really the conduit, and your hands are being placed in a certain area.
Right.
And even your client understands that is the place that is hurting. You may not have known that before you started the Reiki.
Right.
And then after the Reiki, they say, oh, yeah, you know what, my liver really needed a cleanse, and it's just interesting because you learn so much.
I think it's fascinating. But see, you're also using intuition at that point because, right, so I was giving Reiki to a friend, and I went over and she was laying down, and I usually do long distance. I hardly ever do.
I love long
in person. I do too. And so I was standing behind her, and I had my hands not touching her, but just behind her shoulders. And then I'm drawn over to her abdomen area. So I've got my hands on her abdomen, and one hand kind of holds space. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Really
that's how mine. Because that's where the energy is, and then you're able to sweep it away with the other.
Right. Oh, that's so funny. So I was doing that over her abdomen, and I said, "Are you having problems with hormones?" And she and I don't talk about hormones or anything like menopause or anything like that. And she goes, "Oh my gosh," she goes, "I just got off the phone talking to my gynecologist because I'm having such problems with menopause." It's like, well, there it is, right? I mean, it's just so cool the way that happens. But when I'm doing Reiki with someone, I will tell them what I'm seeing, because what I find is that by them being aware of, oh yeah, my body is reacting to menopause and even energetically, as it gets them talking about things, then I can even get in a little deeper sometimes.
You're very right about that, Ruth, because as they speak it, they release that energy.
Right.
And sometimes all it needs is to be awakened of the situation to be able to leave.
Right. Just acknowledge it. See it and acknowledge it, and it'll go. So we've got time for one last question. So Hilary, you were talking about whether you charge for providing Reiki or not. So can you just talk about that for a minute? Because I know in our listeners, we've got folks that are trained to do energetic healing and don't hang a shingle, don't charge for it. What's your personal take on that?
That's a really good question, Ruth, because I fit into that category. I really like to give the gift of healing. And I don't want to hang a shingle, but I want to be able to give. And a lot of times you can access what the person can't afford, and then you have to make that decision. And sometimes for me, I don't want to have to do that. So when someone comes to me, I'll tell them, no worries, just be open between 10 and 12 at night.
Nice. Okay, so Hilary, that is all the time we've got tonight. And if folks wanted to contact you with questions, can they contact your email?
My email is Hilary, Hilary, dot Dunford, Dunford, at hotmail.com.
Okay, great. So thanks everybody for listening in. It is always a pleasure to have you all with us. It is truly an honor to be among the hosts of International Angels Network. Hilary, thank you so very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And my friends, I look forward to walking with Spirit and you next Thursday, September 13, 2018. Good night and God bless.